My friends, I need you to stop what you're doing right now and listen to me very carefully. Because what I'm about to share with you could mean the difference between keeping your benefits exactly as they are or seeing a reduction of up to $2,400 disappear from your account next month. I know that sounds alarming, and believe me, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if this wasn't absolutely critical information that every single person on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits needs to understand right now. Over the past few days, the Trump administration has announced a series of policy changes that are already making their way through federal agencies, and these changes are specifically targeting how benefits are calculated, how income is verified, and how certain recipients qualify for supplemental payments that many of you have been counting on for years. Now, I want you to take a deep breath with me because I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening, who's affected, what this means for your monthly check, and most importantly, what you can do right now to protect yourself and possibly even increase your benefits despite these new rules. This isn't about politics, my friends. This is about your money, your security, and your ability to pay your bills, buy your groceries, and keep a roof over your head. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let me explain everything you need to know step by step, just like I would if you were sitting right here at my kitchen table. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that these changes aren't affecting everyone in exactly the same way. And that's actually really important because some of you watching this right now might not see any reduction at all, while others could see significant changes to your monthly payment. The administration has announced a comprehensive review of what they're calling overlapping benefits, which essentially means they're taking a much closer look at people who receive more than one type of federal payment. For example, if you're receiving Social Security retirement benefits and you're also getting SSI because your retirement check is low, or if you're getting SSDI and you also qualify for VA disability compensation, these are the situations where the new rules are going to have the biggest impact. Let me give you a real example so you can see how this works. Let's say you're Mary and you're 72 years old and you worked for about 25 years before health problems forced you to stop working early. Your Social Security retirement benefit is $900 a month, which isn't much, so you also qualify for SSI to bring your total monthly income up to the federal benefit rate, which in 2025 is $943. That SSI payment has been giving you an extra couple $100s every month to help make ends meet. Under the new rules, the administration is implementing a stricter income verification system that's going to look at every single dollar coming into your household, including things that weren't always counted before, like help from family members, occasional odd jobs, or even certain types of assistance from charities or community organizations. What they're discovering is that thousands and thousands of seniors across America have been receiving small amounts of unreported income that technically should have reduced their SSI payments under the existing rules, but because the verification systems weren't sophisticated enough, these small amounts went unnoticed. Now, with new computer systems and data sharing agreements between Social Security, the IRS, state agencies, and even banking institutions, they're able to see everything. And here's where that $2,400 figure comes from that I mentioned at the beginning. If the Social Security Administration determines that you've been receiving even small amounts of unreported income over the past year, they can calculate what they call an overpayment, which means they believe they paid you more than you were entitled to receive. In Mary's case, if she's been helping her daughter occasionally by babysitting her grandchildren and her daughter has been giving her $50 here and there to help out, and if Mary didn't report that because she didn't realize she needed to, Social Security might calculate that over 12 months, that's $600 of unreported income. But the way SSI calculations work, that $600 of unreported income could have reduced her SSI payment by as much as $400 over the course of the year. Now multiply that by several years if the review goes back further, and you can see how someone could suddenly be facing a determination that they were overpaid by $2,000 or more. But it gets more complicated, my friends, because the new policy also changes how quickly Social Security can recoup these overpayments. Under the old system, if you were found to have been overpaid, Social Security would typically withhold 10% of your monthly benefit until the overpayment was recovered, which for someone getting $1,000 a month would mean they'd lose $100 monthly until the debt was paid. But under the new Accelerated Recovery Program, the administration has authorized Social Security to withhold up to 100% of your SSI payment, which means in some cases, people could see their entire supplemental check disappear for multiple months while Social Security recovers what they believe you weren't entitled to. Now, you can request a waiver or a payment plan, but the process has become much more complicated, and many seniors are finding that their requests are being denied at higher rates than before. This is exactly why I'm sitting here today, because I want you to understand what's happening and what you need to do to protect yourself. The second major change involves what's called the substantial gainful activity threshold for SSDI recipients. And this is particularly important for those of you who are under your full retirement age and receiving disability benefits. The administration has announced that they're implementing more frequent continuing disability reviews, which means they're going to be checking more often to see if you still qualify as disabled under Social Security's rules. They're also lowering the threshold for what counts as substantial gainful activity, which is the amount of money you can earn from work before Social Security decides you're no longer disabled. In 2025, that threshold was set at $16,620 per year for non-blind individuals, but there's talk of reducing it and making the reviews more stringent. What this means in practical terms is that if you've been doing any kind of part-time work to supplement your disability check, even if it's just a few hours here and there, you could suddenly find yourself facing a determination that you're earning too much to continue receiving disability benefits. And here's the kicker, my friends. If they decide you're no longer disabled, they don't just stop your future payments. They can go back and determine that you haven't been disabled for months or even over a year, and then you're facing that same overpayment situation where they want thousands of dollars back. Now, let's talk about the VA benefit side of this equation, because veterans are getting hit particularly hard by these changes. The Trump administration has announced a new joint review process between the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Social Security Administration to identify people who are receiving both VA disability compensation and Social Security disability benefits. Now, legally, you're absolutely allowed to receive both, and there's no offset between them under current law. But what's happening is that the VA is implementing much stricter medical examinations for veterans who are rated at 50% disability or higher, and they're using what they call modern medical standards to reevaluate claims that were approved years or even decades ago. What veterans are reporting is that conditions that were previously rated at 70% are being reduced to 50% or even 30%, and each 10% reduction means hundreds of dollars less per month. For a veteran who was receiving $2,800 a month at the 90% rating and suddenly gets reduced to 70%, that's a loss of about $700 monthly, and over a year, that's $8,400. When you combine that with potential reductions in SSI or changes to SSDI, you can see how someone could easily be looking at losing $2,400 or more in a single month when all these changes hit at once. So what can you do about all of this? First, and most importantly, you need to request your Social Security earnings record and your benefit verification letter immediately. You can do this by creating a My Social Security account on the SSA.gov website, or you can call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 and request these documents be mailed to you. When you get your earnings record, you need to go through it line by line and make sure every year of your work history is accurately recorded, because if there are missing credits, you could be receiving less than you're entitled to. I've worked with dozens of seniors who discovered that 1 or 2 years of their work history weren't properly credited, and when Social Security corrected it, their monthly benefit increased by $50 to $100 permanently. That's money you've earned, and you deserve to receive it. Second, if you're receiving SSI, you absolutely must report all income, even small amounts, to Social Security immediately. I know it seems like a hassle, especially for $20 or $30 here and there, but I promise you, the consequences of not reporting are far worse than taking 10 minutes to make a phone call or send a report through your My Social Security account. The new computer systems are going to catch unreported income eventually, and it's much better to report it yourself and let them adjust your benefit correctly than to face an overpayment determination months or years down the road. If you've been helping family members and receiving small payments, if you've sold anything online, if you've done any odd jobs, if you've received any cash gifts, you need to report all of it. The rules say that any income, whether it's cash, checks, or even bartering for goods and services, needs to be reported. Third, if you receive an overpayment notice from Social Security, do not ignore it. You have 60 days from the date on the notice to request a waiver or to request a reconsideration of the overpayment determination. A waiver means you're asking Social Security to forgive the overpayment because recovering it would cause you financial hardship, or because the overpayment wasn't your fault. When you request a waiver, you'll need to fill out Form SSA 632, which asks detailed questions about your income and expenses. Be thorough and honest on this form, and include documentation like bank statements, rent or mortgage statements, utility bills, medical expenses, and anything else that shows you're barely getting by financially. Social Security is supposed to grant waivers when recovery would defeat the purpose of the program or would be against equity and good conscience. But you have to make your case clearly. Fourth, if you're a veteran receiving VA disability compensation, you need to stay on top of your VA medical examinations and make sure you're documenting every symptom and limitation from your service-connected conditions. Too many veterans go into these examinations and try to minimize their symptoms because they don't want to complain or they feel like they should be tough. My friends, this is not the time for that. If you're having pain every single day, you tell them you're having pain every single day. If your condition prevents you from working, prevents you from doing household chores, prevents you from enjoying activities you used to love, you need to explain all of that in detail. Consider bringing a written statement to your examination that lists all of your symptoms and how they affect your daily life. Because sometimes in the stress of the appointment, it's easy to forget important details. Fifth, and this is something a lot of people don't know, you may be eligible for additional benefits or credits that could offset some of these reductions. For example, many states have state supplementation programs that provide additional money on top of federal SSI. Some states automatically enroll you, but others require you to apply separately. If you're struggling with medical expenses, you should look into Medicare savings programs, which can pay your Medicare Part B premium, your deductibles, and your co-payments if your income is below certain limits. If your income and assets are low enough, you might qualify for Medicaid, which can cover many expenses that Medicare doesn't. There are also programs like SNAP, which used to be called food stamps, that can provide $100 to $200 or more per month to help with groceries. The Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP, can help pay your heating and cooling bills. Every one of these programs puts real money back in your pocket or reduces your expenses, which is just as good as increasing your benefits. My friends, I know this is a lot of information, and I know it can feel overwhelming and even scary when you're hearing about potential reductions to benefits you count on to survive. But I want you to remember something very important. You have rights in this process. Social Security has to follow specific rules and procedures, and if they don't, you have the right to appeal. You have the right to request a hearing before an administrative law judge. You have the right to be represented by a lawyer or a non-attorney representative. Organizations like your local legal aid society, the National Organization of Social Security Claimants Representatives, and many state and local agencies provide free or low-cost help to seniors dealing with Social Security issues. You don't have to navigate this alone. The bottom line is this: stay informed, keep detailed records, report your income accurately and promptly, don't ignore notices from Social Security or the VA, and fight for every dollar you're entitled to receive. These are benefits you've earned through decades of hard work and sacrifice. This is your money, and you deserve to receive every penny you're entitled to under the law. If you found this information helpful, please share it with your friends and family members who might be affected by these changes, because the more people who understand what's happening, the better we can all protect ourselves and support each other through these difficult times. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and remember that knowledge is power when it comes to protecting your benefits.